Dart's Family Caregiving Strategies Part 2, Creating Connections that Enrich Aging. Winner of 2009 National Family Caregiving Award. Copyright 2003 to 2013 Darts. This PowerPoint may not be copied without express written permission of Darts.
All right. So, as you look at the different opportunities that are here for family members, let's talk about those things that are unchecked. Who can tell me one area that they left unchecked, where they don't have a family member that has a natural gift? Yes?
Well, I left unchecked suburban.
So this is clearly your mom's role. Just ask her, she'll tell you. And that's all right for you to say, you know, we have lots of ideas, Mom, we want your advice on how to proceed. And that's pretty empowering as well. We know. We know. That doesn't always work. But it's a starting point. And if you say, Mom, we put you down for this role as advice because we want you to have the power to say yes or no on all of the great things we're going to talk about here together, that's very powerful for her as well. Any other blanks? You all left the same one blank? What about the super shopper? Well, but is there a possibility that there is a granddaughter that might be available? Or go during the off hours? Or find a service that will do it. In Dakota County, Darts has a grocery shopping program. In suburban Hennepin County, I know there's an organization called Senior Community Services that has a grocery shopping program. So take a look at minnesotahelp.info, and then it's like a search engine. So you go to minnesotahelp.info and you put in grocery shopping or Christmas shopping and then the community that your parents are in. And it will walk you to resources that are available to help with that service. But minnesotahelp.info is an amazing resource for caregivers, not just here in the Twin Cities. What if your mom and dad are in Aiken or in Blue Earth or in Greater Minnesota? minnesotahelp.info will connect you with resources throughout the state.
Are all these resources financial based?
Most of them charge on a sliding fee based on your parents' income, yes. And generally that sliding fee starts at 0 and goes up from there. So, but yes, good question. There is often a fee for these services. So then what if you've got this plan now, because we just talked about it, and you've slated in Bonnie to be the wonderful shopper, and frankly, Bonnie may be a wonderful shopper, but she'd rather not shop for Mom and Dad. We have to give everybody the right to option out. That opinion may change over time. This may be a really bad time in Bonnie's life. And she may be having grieving issues of her own around what's going on with Mom and Dad. She may be having issues of her own in her own nuclear family, of which she's part of the nucleus, that you don't know anything about. We need to be gracious with that and then keep the door open. As we develop communication strategies to keep the family informed of what's going on with Mom and Dad, include Bonnie in that. And maybe sometimes she'll say, Mom doesn't have time this month to go out and buy birthday cards for her grandchildren. And Bonnie might say, you know what, this month I can do it. And then you've just left that door open and Bonnie can come back in as she chooses to participate. But there are always people, or sometimes, sadly, people, who just need to opt out. Maybe you've got someone who's been doing the good research and is the one that the family is looking for to do research on the web. And then they suddenly stop doing it. Find someone to pick up the slack. Perhaps it's an opportunity to reach out and support that family member. And then just be grateful for the help and support that you've gotten from them up until this point. Families aren't easy. Did I tell you the part where I'm the youngest of 7? It's not all that easy. And what was amazing to me as I was going through this myself was that I thought I knew these people. But as adults, they had been shaped by their own life experiences and their own process of raising children, and they were all at their own place in their life's journey as well. And so after 7 years of doing that, I can say what I learned was to respect that, to acknowledge, as Linda and I were saying earlier, that all we are a bunch of people doing our best. At any given moment of the day, we're doing our best. And no one else sees the whole picture. But we're in this together as caregivers, and we just need to cut each other some slack. All right. So now what happens? Now you've got this planned out of what's going to happen. Oh, sorry. Let me get back there. Let's schedule that family meeting, the meeting we were just talking about over there. The meeting that includes mom and dad. I was talking to someone about a month ago about having that family meeting, and unfortunately it was in a hospice situation. And the family was there and they were concerned about mom and dad, and there was a hospice social worker there. A very gifted hospice social worker, as I understand it now, because as the family was saying things like, but I want mom to have, but I want mom, shouldn't we do this for mom? The social worker, as she kept saying, the social worker kept saying, this is not about you. This is not about what you want. This is not about the things you want to have for your mom. This is about your mom and how you are going to support the aging journey for your mom. And I understand that was a powerful situation, made more powerful by the fact that hospice was there. But I think that's the mantra we all need, is that there are ways that this could be easier for you and me. There are ways that could be made easier for your brothers and your sisters and your husbands and your children. But this isn't their journey. This is mom and dad's journey. And it's about how can we support them so that they can be safe and so that they can be as content as possible as they go through this stage of their life. So schedule that family meeting and include mom, dad, whoever the elder is that you're concerned about, to be part of that family meeting. So then take a look at what are the helpful resources, and could I ask you please, caregivers, to spend a few minutes considering what are the resources you need? Before you began this caregiving journey, what were the things that gave you joy? What were the comfort things for you? Was it an evening with friends? Was it a day at the Mall of America? Was it sitting and crocheting? Think back about what those things were and find time for that once in a while. This isn't being self-indulgent. This is being resilient. Those places that gave you comfort and joy and a sense of peace are the places you need to go during the stress of being a caregiver. And the longer you can keep the stress to a minimum, the longer you'll be able to be a terrific caregiver. Take time for yourself. Take time to talk with friends, and I'd like to encourage you to talk with friends in your neighborhood, in your social group, here at work, about what it's like being a caregiver for two reasons. Number one, you have no idea how many of them are going through something similar. And number two, even if they're not going through it now, someday they may be going through it, and it would be nice for them to know that they know someone who's walked that journey and can be a resource for them. I believe that's how we're going to create the community of supports that will support not just our parents, but us as we age, is if we begin talking about the caregiving journey and supporting one another in the caregiving journey. So first of all, help yourself. Find the things that give you strength. And then look out to other people. Who are the other people who have always been important in your parents' lives? Is it their faith community? Is it the local Rotary, the VFW, the American Legion? Where are the people and places that have been important to them? And can you enlist their help? Those are people whom pride aside, would be like friends coming to pitch in and help out with our parents. And guess what? Chances are your parents would have done the same for them. So consider that those other networks that have been important in your parents' lives. There are oftentimes parish nurses at the local churches that might be helpful. There are auxiliaries of many of the community groups. And then, of course, look to the community. Look to nonprofits like the Merrick Group here in St. Paul, like the Wilder Foundation, which has older services for older adults, Senior Community Services in Hennepin County, Volunteers of America, also in Hennepin County, DARTS down in Dakota County. What's the reason for these services to be there if you don't know that we're there and you can't call upon us to help fill in those check marks? So look inward to find your own support. Make time for yourself in this journey. And then be aware that sometimes we're all human. Like I said, just doing our best. And sometimes it can be frustrating to be a caregiver. Don't just be patient with the older adult, but be patient with yourself as you go through this journey. Seek out the support of your family members. Seek out the support of your coworkers. Find a way to vent. I have to say that many of the caregivers I talk with find humor as a way to vent. I understand that making a joke of your mom or your dad at work can sound disrespectful, but it can certainly relieve pressure and can certainly bring a joy to it. The caregiving journey is a rich one, but it's a rich one with potholes. I wish I had 15 more minutes of being a caregiver. I was a caregiver for my mom for 7 years. 15 more minutes would have made it perfect. And I know you all feel the same way. So when those stresses get to you, please find a vent. Please find a bowling alley somewhere and throw a bowling ball. Find a place to deal with those stresses so that hopefully they won't show up in your parents' home or in your next visit to your parents. Allow yourself the opportunity to be anxious. I spoke with a caregiver just last week who said, "There's not a moment I don't feel guilty." She used to provide daycare for her grandchildren a couple of days a week, but now she can't do that because she's so busy with taking care of her mom and her dad. She said, "When I'm with mom and dad, I feel guilty that I'm not there for my daughter who was counting on me to help with the grandchildren. And when I'm with the grandchildren, I know that I would be making such a difference if I could only be there a little longer for mom and dad. There's never a moment of my day that I don't feel guilty," she said. It's an opportunity, by the way, to go back to that checklist and see if there aren't some things that you could maybe offload onto someone else, a caregiver or a professional service. But it's also a reality of part of the caregiver journey. And we just need to accept that and to remind ourselves that this journey is temporary. And then give ourselves permission to see the positive side of the caregiving journey. When I was with my mom, at least my life for those few hours was only about one thing. I didn't have to worry about what's on the schedule or what's being prepared for dinner and did I take food out of the freezer and what am I supposed to be doing at work tomorrow and do I have everything ready? For those hours, it was just about me and mom. And mom was going a little slower than I was, and so the whole world slowed down a little. That was kind of nice. I kind of liked that. One thing. When's the last time you had only one thing on your mind? So to me, that was a blessing of the caregiver journey. Maybe in the caregiver journey you find humor, find closeness to those adult brothers and sisters that you had kind of drifted apart from, for good or for ill. It's a relationship. Those are relationships that will last you the rest of your life. So give yourself permission to acknowledge those things that are fulfilling, that are enriching about your role as a caregiver. and then find people who are willing to help. Consider how your parents will accept help. So perhaps they don't want the nonprofit Darts to come into their home and provide services. Heaven forbid. But perhaps they'd accept help from their church, from their faith community. Perhaps if they're feeling lonely and isolated, they don't want you to bring a friend in, but perhaps they want you to drive them to safely, find someone to drive them safely to and from a volunteer opportunity that's important to them. So, we can sit here and decide on our piece of paper what help they need. That's going to be different than if we include them in the conversation and allow them to have the help they need their way. And then don't forget those long-distance helpers that can just do phone call once a day. The gentleman who was talking to me about being the primary and sole caregiver because the only other relative is in Juneau, Alaska, has at least tasked that brother in Juneau, Alaska to call mom every other day. And he has 2 10-year-old twin daughters, and so grandma gets to talk to the twins in Juneau, Alaska 3 or 4 times a week. And that certainly is adding value to her life as well. So now we've got our task, and we're going to list all of the responsibilities and who's in charge, right? So it doesn't do any good to just sit and think about it. Let's make a list. Let's have that family note taker keep track of what it is that we need and how we're going to get it done. And then who's going to do it? And somebody in the family has to be the facilitator, the keeper of the list, not the watchdog. If you assign someone the task of keeping track of paying mom and dad's bills, then that's their task. And if you try and look over their shoulder and say, did you do it and have you paid the electric? I got news for you. You're going to add a whole nother level. If I am giving that task to you, it's your job, and I'm going to tell you if you need any help or you run into any problems, let me know or let somebody know, and we'll try and help you with it. But give them the authority and the responsibility to proceed along whatever that path is, even if they're the super shopper, and you've got someone now who's going to be buying groceries for mom, and you show up and mom doesn't have any oranges. Go buy mom oranges, stick them in the refrigerator and let it go. Don't call the super shopper and say, why didn't mom have any oranges when I was there? It's their job, let it go. All right, and then do it. There are, by the way, great calendars available online. Lots of Helping Hands has a caregiver calendar. Caring Bridge, by the way, now has a caregiver calendar. And there are others as well, where you can go on and say mom has a doctor's appointment this day and wants to get her hair done this day, and dad needs to get to the barber here, and it would be nice if they could do, they want to do their Christmas cards, get their Christmas cards mailed out the first week of December. And then the family can just access that calendar, and it's a sign-in. You know, it's not like anybody in the world can see when your mom and dad are going to the calendar. The caregivers that you give access to can see that calendar and can sign in for the tasks and the responsibilities that they want to do. And if you want to let the parish nurse in on that as well, that's entirely up to you. And so they can see what gaps need to be filled for the family. And it's an amazing tool. All right, so now let's get to, if you're in Dakota County and you need help with this, I hope you know that DARTS has service coordinators who go out and sit with families and help them navigate the aging journey. If you're elsewhere in the Twin Cities area, there is the senior linkage line, which is dial 211 or 411?
1-800-333-2433.
Really? I thought they had, all right. So did everybody write that down? If you'll repeat it. Oh, good. I am good, aren't I? Look at that. All right. If you're outstate, we've already talked about minnesotahelp.info. What if you're caring for someone in Kalamazoo, Michigan, or San Diego, California? Then there is the Elder Care Locator, And that 800 number is on here as well, or www.eldercare.gov. And then Elder Care Partners is a group of 3 nonprofits, Darts, Wilder, and Senior Community Services, that does caregiver coaching. So it's not so much focused on the older adult in your life, although certainly that's part of it. But the focus of a caregiver coach is to help the caregiver find resources, certainly. Find balance, yes. Deal with stress, yes. So if that kind of one-on-one help would be helpful to you, please just go to Elder Care Partners. And then caregivermin.org is just a good list of resources like low-cost attorneys and where to find an ombudsman. I shouldn't have tried to say that word. And where to find a family mediator, that sort of help.